The initial imagery is my mother's hands, full of broken shells. Her fingers are gracefully trying to find that buried gem of nature's paradise. I guess that cool, fresh ocean breeze on the windy beach off the wide-open eastern Atlantic, rushing into the Caribbean Sea, had awakened my senses from the watery womb to my new environment. The big blue sky, a gulp of pure, clean oxygen, the breath of life. I had arrived.
How do you describe Bankie? Bankie. You need a new entry in the encyclopedia.
God, straight. Fuck up.
Oh, I like to take you to a funky place where a breeze is always in your face. Take a trip on my solar ship. Take a seat on moonshine trip. The planet Dune. We face the southern moon. Planet Dune. We face the southern moon.
There are few people in every country that just don't follow the status quo. Everybody's going that bridge, and they decide to go where nobody else has gone. Where nobody else has gone before, you know?
No, it doesn't fit in at all. And this is why Bankie is so incredible as an artist, because right now he's Bob Dylan of the Caribbean. That's as far as I'm concerned. He's a folk singer, he's a poet, he's a reggae singer, he's almost like a rock singer sometimes. He's Bankie. Bankie's Bankie.
He's kind of indescribable. I guess I would say a gentle pirate. The things that he says and the way he lives his life and the music as a combination, they all seem to be sort of like combined, and I find it very, very soulful.
Along with being a great songwriter, he's a great performer. And it's obvious that you can play in a place like he's built here, you know, and it just gives you the complete vibe of who Bankie is.
Imagine Keith Richards being 100 times cooler, but, you know, Rasta reggae, but also this Leonard Cohen freak.
The Prince of Darkness walks behind me.
His music is different to anything you hear coming out of Anguilla. When he first started, he had some of the biggest songs in the region.
No artist in the Caribbean, Marley, Bonnie Wailer, Jimmy Cliff, none of them did what Bankie did. Bankie released an album. 5 weeks, he had 4 #1 hits. Everybody wants to see this Bankie Banx and the Roots and Herbs.
This Roots and Herbs movement became a social, political movement in the entire Caribbean. So you're respected for that on the level of Bob Marley or Peter Tosh or any of the people who were a part of that same musical revolution.
What Bankie was doing was groundbreaking for Anguilla. And I believed in him. I believed in his dream. I still do.
He did it in a backwood Anguilla. Generators for current, dirt fucking roads. And he managed to take his talent to the world, bro. You gotta respect that.
As an entertainer, he traveled a lot, so he wasn't around that much. He went to Europe and he lived there for a while.
He played in all the good clubs in London, in Amsterdam, in Paris. People listened to his music and said, okay, we take him.
You know, he was the first of his island musicians to make it in New York and Europe. And he was performing a lot in New York, so I remember going to Spodiotti's and see him play there. He invited my wife and I to come down to Anguilla and meet the gang down there. We were having dinner at Bankie's uncle's hotel on Rendezvous Bay. And he said, I own this land way down at the end of the beach there, and, you know, I want to have a festival there sometime. And I said, that's a great idea, you know, let's do it.
This is Moonsplash.
Moonsplash is the longest-running independent music festival in the Caribbean.
When I started Moonsplash, I made it a duty to promote all the legendary bands that I grew up with and that I might have seen outside of Anguilla, especially conscious reggae acts.
Saw Sugar Minott there just before he passed away. Bunny Wailer, Steel Pulse, Third World.
Toots and the Maytals, Gregory Isaacs, Marcia Griffiths.
Guys like Tony Rebel and the Wailers, and the list goes on and on. Beres Hammond and all these guys, they had respect for Bankie and the music that he was doing. And rarely do artists that's not from Jamaica get that sort of respect from the Jamaican artists.
I feel like rocking tonight.
Welcome to Anguilla. Moonsplash. Look how beautiful the Dune is now. We got Moonsplash coming, and look how pretty everything coming through.
People love to see Moonsplash getting created again. It's like making a movie.
Anybody come and say they want to help? Yeah. Team of paintbrush.
We welcome the guys that come and help, you know. The tension is up. Bankie is like, everybody put it, y'all, and get this done. Yeah.
When we walked in the door, this was Monday. There was a crew working out front. There was a crew building the kitchen. There was a crew building the boutique. I think the trick is that if he asks people in advance to help him, they won't show up. But if it's the last minute, he can rally the troops and get things done.
This is, by the way, put them in the general traffic, but control this gate here. That's DC Banks. That's my first cousin. And Judah's got technical stuff too. And he's a Banks. It's a very tight tribe here around this.
All of my relatives have had some hand in contributing to it. We've all either served drinks or worked at the door or worked backstage or performed on stage.
It's part of our DNA right now, Moonsplash.
It's a family affair, which is another really extraordinary thing too, you know? There's so many banks that you run into. Yeah, there's a lot of them, man. There's a lot of them.
My dad has got quite a few kids.
Okay, from oldest to youngest. Okay, I may mess up the middle. If I had to, I could.
Stop me if I'm wrong, okay?
I will try. Well, there's Delano. She's the eldest. And then myself.
And then it's Olaide, Kuji, Tahira, Omari. I think I got those two messed up.
Olaide, Omari, Tahira, that's me.
Kuji, me, Sunray. I don't know which of the twins came out first, but then it's Judah.
And myself.
Am I right? Did I get the order right?
Did I get 10?
My dad told me there's another sibling in between. I do not know her name.
The 11th one? Oh, yeah. Did he tell you about it? Okay, yeah. Nobody really met Jacqueline, but I have the same affection that I have for all the rest of my siblings and all the rest of my family.
As soon as I see them, I see Bankie, so it's like, okay. Another Bankie. Another Bankie. Yeah.
Wow, it's come down beautifully this evening. I was a little afraid with that big cloud that banked up earlier.
Fucking Moonsplash. People are asking me shit.
Banks just watched that sheet coming across.
There's nothing like this. I could do Moonsplash and I could be stressed to the max, right? In a half an hour, you get back all your energy.
Yeah, to use a bad phrase, a little peace for the soul. A change is as good as a rest, you know?
You can say it's all about me.
Bankie, it's us. We must get the flash.
We must?
We must. We command it.
We command it, Ross. Get ready for the green flash.
There it is.
You got it? Did you get it? Woo!
That was here for us.
We are blessed, you know. It's not every day you get that.
Is it the start of Moonsplash?
I guess that is. And that is the beginning of Moonsplash.
All right.
Yeah, we got a real one.
This is how we know we're blessed.
We got that shit. You know where you're fucking. We know that shit now.
Moonsplash 2020. We might be knocked down, but we get up.
I won't say.
I got out of the United States when the getting was good.
What I know was a comedy.
If I have to quarantine here, I'm okay with that.
The jokes from me.
Fire in the fire, man. And we're lucky to be here at this Moonsplash when the world is falling apart. When fresh air and open space is worth more than gold and oil. Hey, let's have a good time. Let's go.
I'm so
Fucking shit. I'm going over, man. I'm going in. Just don't let him see me jumping. Bankie Banx breaking the fucking law. I can't get over that one like that. Oh, I'm gonna get hurt on this shit. Let's go. The front. So, ready? So you shooting top, right? This is the place where I lived until I was about 7.5, 8 years old. It's no government building, it's the Department of Tourism. The house is just the way it was, the same veranda, the same style. My father was the agriculturist, he was running the agricultural department. My mom was the one who figured out that it was different to the rest of them. I was always the one running around. Shit going around in my head all the time.
My mother had 6 of us in 7.5 years. Victor was mine in 47, Linda in 49, Val in 50. I was born in 51. Bankie was born in 53, and Coore was in 55.
You were on this side, Uncle?
Exactly.
In families, you know, you have different roles to play, and Bankie was pretty much the rebel at a young age, and as he continued through life.
We got 3 missing people.
That looks about right.
One of the things he was as a youngster, very impatient. Couldn't stand in one spot. He was always marking time. We knew that he was going to be a musician because he was always building something, a drum set or something to play.
We used to play under the cellar, you know, you call it a basement, but a little cellar we have. And we'd go on there and we make instruments out of sardine tin and different strings and different little nylon and things, little kids.
I remember he'd come down with a sardine can with a stick on it and some strings, and he'd tone it up. He just started, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. It was more amazed than anything else of how we could just make this thing.
Music in our household was very important. My mother loved to sing, so there would always be singing going on around the house. Bankie really took to music. I think he realized afterward that was his calling. And he started making instruments. Like he made his first guitar and really got into it. The rest of us would, you know, be involved in sport, literary things and so on. Bankie tended to have friends where the focus was on almost like mischief making around in the community and stuff like that.
Yes! We do.
I tell you, our friendship was deep, deep, deep. Everything together, everything together. Our real fun was the making of the guitars. We had these pieces of plywood and we score a lot of cuts in them and soak them in water so we can bend, easy to bend, you know. And the frets, we had to pound them to straighten them out, you know.
That's really easy to beat. You can handle cover. You used to hand sand.
Yeah.
That was your job.
Yeah, right. That was my job. It was a lot of work for 2 young minds, you know what I mean? It was something else. He did a lot of writing of music in the Saturdays. One of the earlier songs he did was a tune called Archer's Green.
We did that together.
Yeah, well, we did it together, but you
were the first songs we did.
the very first song, actually. Yeah, remember at least a verse.
How it goes.
As we walk in the Archer's Green with my baby, everything seems so green all around me. She's my baby. She's my baby. She's my baby. She's my baby.
Our father died when we were generally young. Victor was about 17 years old. I was 13 or some 14. And our mother raised us after that.
But without my mom, I wouldn't be sitting here at all. She's in all these areas. She's in every area. All the areas I said. But she has to be there because that's who I look to for strength and guidance. She's like my guardian angel, you know. She kind of shapes me up.
My favorite of all his songs to this day is the one he did about his mother.
I know Mother Dear touches us all. It's so true to my mother.
She always sang songs for us. And some songs which she sang, I still remember, I still sing them.
Singing sweetly as a dove. Melodies of mother's love.
When my father died, my mother did everything she could. She made bread to sell, sugar cake. She was sewing for people. My father had a car which he had left, and she was renting that out. She put us all in 2 rooms, and she rented the other rooms to visit us. She really had a hard time, but we never suffered for it.
Mother Dear.
There were things that she said that we never forgot. And that had a lot to do with her growth and development.
Bankie adored our mother. And if there's a private persona, that probably is what it is.
Yeah, that song is great. I need your permission, man. Definitely want to record this song.
Bankie was very determined to do things his way. He didn't like my mother to reprimand him. My mother made sure that we all pursued, our education appropriately.
You attend school regularly, you do your homework, have respect for your teachers, learn as much as you can.
Never good at mental arithmetic, all that kind of shit that got no emotion or no feeling that you just got to recite. I was far from academia. It was somewhere in another place.
Many of us as students meandered to various professions and didn't have a clue. But Bankie always said he wanted to be a musician.
We came from a family that dictates our future. We want you to be a doctor. We want you to be a lawyer. They want me to be a mechanic, and all kinds of craziness and things like that. And I guess they had the same thing for Bankie, and he become rebellious. Bobby used to tease, they said, that's your responsibility. You are in charge of him, because only you can deal with him.
There was a band playing next door, and he went over some evenings, and next thing you know, they invited him to join that band. That was Jesse and the Fantastics.
Jesse and the Fantastics was a real fantastic band. Anguilla was, like Bankie would say, dust the streets. The only form of entertainment was the music that we played.
I can remember our first gigs were places like social clubs, They did these rooms with chairs all around. The ladies would sit down and the guys would ask them for a dance.
Woo! I just came to visit the community center to see if we'd be like it was, Same old stage. Yeah. Actually, that's a part of the old revolutionary mural. Get the hand. It was a beautiful mural. Some crazy person just took it off.
Jesse, band leader, was a very interesting guy. Jesse was one of the guys in the Anguilla Revolution. He was one of the rebel fighters that went to invade St. Kitts and became home a hero.
The British government takes it all very seriously. Instability in Anguilla could spread like a cancer through the whole Caribbean.
It was a hugely dramatic event that lasted essentially for 2 years. Guns were drawn, shots were fired, thank God nobody got killed, but it was hairy for a while.
Anguilla, a small, thinly populated, formless and featureless island in the Caribbean, declared itself independent of the British Crown 2 years ago. At the time, nobody paid much attention because there wasn't much to get excited about. Anguilla has 30 square miles, 6,000 people, a salt pond, and that's about it. It appeared that within or without the British Commonwealth, it was doing nobody any harm or doing nobody much good. But now, today, the British have sent a force of paratroopers to occupy the island and to put the British commissioner back in office, to rule in the name of Queen Elizabeth II. Some people in London call the operation the Bay of Piglets and wondered why the British bothered. Residents of the island did not resist. They merely stood around and watched.
How, they ask, could the British invade an island of 6,000 people with no phones and no electricity and hardly enough money to buy a radio, let alone weapons to defend themselves?
Anguilla was very neglected. That was the reason of the revolution. Those days, if you didn't produce sugar cane, Bananas were useless to the empire.
Anguilla, unlike a lot of other Caribbean islands, was never a successful plantation society. Because the island was so dry and the soils were so poor, Anguilla was always doomed to a level of economic growth that was barely above subsistence. That generated a lot of emigration, sending Anguillians overseas to try and make ends meet. And in that emigration, there was a demonstration effect where people recognized that the political organization that Anguilla existed under, which was a colonial one attached to two more prosperous British islands, St. Kitts and Nevis, was not working in our favor. And that fomented a lot of political agitation, which exploded in 1967.
So take a stand. Be prepared to fight.
The people of Anguilla have other ideas.
We were not fighting the British. We had an internal struggle with the island of St. Kitts. So the British came in as mediators in the kind of way, but just because Anguilla was getting a little edgy, you know.
The self-proclaimed and enormously popular president of the island, Ronald Webster, came here for discussions with the British officials, Webster bearing a central demand that Anguilla no longer be forced to associate with nearby St. Kitts Island. Well, what would you accept? What kind of an association with Britain would you accept?
The only thing I will accept is direct association.
The troops rapidly assured the islanders that they would not have to return to the three-island federation from which they seceded 2 years ago. A British commissioner has been appointed instead.
The Anguilla Revolution was very successful, and Anguilla became its own political identity with its own government, its own legislature, in concert with the British government. Still today, there's a sense of freedom. They don't take any crap from anybody. I would like to believe it's part of the revolutionary spirit that says, yeah, I gotta do it my way. And Bankie is a very good example of that.
The revolution worked out very well for me because when the British came, that's when I got British Top 40. The radio station was broadcasting from the British frigate in the harbor, Radio Anguilla. And that's when I heard Dylan, Jimi Hendrix, and the Beatles, and the Stones, and Ray Charles, and Stevie Wonder. All the things that influenced my life. And actually, my sister Linda was the first local DJ. So I had first access to request programs. The British were here for a while. It was 300 British engineers doing what they were supposed to do a long time, building streets and docks, just putting an infrastructure in Anguilla. Just and Fantastics would find themselves in the British Army camps on a Saturday night or Friday night. And they'd ask us to play this stuff that we were hearing on the radio. The old hometown looks the same as I step down from the train. Yeah. I learned to push my voice by singing out of my range for these guys. They'd always be singing these songs in comfortable range, and we'd have to do the harmonies like, and that's where I found my gut voice, you know? You don't do that shit unless you have to.
They had a really good thing going, and then the band fell apart, and he and some of the other members of the band decided to form their own group.
We decided to change the name of the band to Mad Squad.
And that was more hot.
Mad Squad was more about nice harmonies. I don't know, like a pop band. Yeah. We played everything.
Swagger, look what I found.
Hey,
Remember this?
Yeah, bro.
My old bass guitar.
Remember I had, boy.
I was cool with this.
Yeah, boy,
We did a bit more traveling. We did go to Barbados to record. Bankie was writing a lot more of his own stuff then too. You know, he's doing most of our lead vocals.
Took away your culture. Took away your pride.
My buddy's record did mainly the calypso stuff. I covered R&B, soul music, slow stuff.
What was reality behind insanity?
We would get paid occasionally, but our main thing was just to be in a band, be happy, play music, you know. Everybody looked up to us too, a lot of people, and we were excited about that fact.
They were the band, they were the hot band at the time. dance squad dances, and I love to dance. And in those days, it was Soul Train. You know, Soul Train was hot, so I was hot dancing too, because I didn't mind performing.
And we go to St. Martin, and we were the hot stuff over there for the time we'd go, man. A lot of times the bands, the established bands that were there, they would come to our dances. We look around and notice that they were in our dances, we knew we were doing something right. The word was getting out real fast about this band from Anguilla, you know.
On to the dance, she walking up. On to the dance, she jumping up.
We did St. Thomas, we did a rock festival in 1973. To us, that was a really big thing, you know? A chance to be exposed a little more. More people would hear us and stuff.
Man, she looks so sweet.
A guy called Felix Fleming introduced my band to St. Thomas as Bankie Banx and the Mad Squad.
They say you gotta have a stage name.
He's the guy who named me Bankie Banx.
Oh, Lord. On to the dance, she walking up.
You know, not the Mad Squad, and he's just in there. So I have to find something to, you know, identify him.
At the end of the dance, I'm gonna take a chance. Get out of here, baby.
Personally, my saddest moment is when I had to leave, because I always knew this is going somewhere. But I had to go because of family, you know what I mean? We were very poor, my family, and I had no choice, though. I had to go.
So then he went to St. Thomas. That was devastating for me. I had the equipment, I had a band, I had all this shit, but I'm still trying to figure out what I'm gonna do. I was beginning to make my third kid.
When Lydie was born, I was a teenage mom. And then a year after, that's when I went off to school. You know, as a teenager, you see somebody, you like somebody, they're playing in a band. You're not overly concerned about how your different passions mesh. Most of it was, you know, based on attraction and all the rest of it.
My sister said to me, the rock and roll ain't working, you gotta get a job, boy. There's a vacancy. There's a teacher in the school where I'm the principal. I took the job. Found myself as the first blue jean teacher in Anguilla. I got into it for a moment. I actually wrote a lot of the songs from my first album right in the classroom.
He was a good teacher in the sense that Island Harbor was a school on the beach. So at recess, everybody went to the beach. It's amazing, you know?
It's called Island Harbor. It's an island harbor. You check that, right? So that's silly kid over there. Well, there was a teacher up here. There was nothing there. It was a deserted island. You ain't gonna say hi, teacher?
Yeah, you teach me in Island Harbor School, also in Eastern School.
He's a busy man. He's a fisherman, yeah? These are all my students. Soul Village.
His name is Clement Banks, but I always call him Bankie. He taught me in Island Harbor Primary School. He was the best. Truth from my heart.
Get the school kids. They're coming out. They're coming out.
Hi. Hey, you good?
Do you know I was a teacher here?
Of course.
They don't have my portrait nowhere in there. I'm too rough.
I know that. Back in 1990.
Not 19, no. You gotta go in the 70s. I left in 1975.
75, yes, 75.
Yeah. So I just want to walk through with us and tell us how it goes now. Because I know you used to sit right there with my guitar. Come on. I can remember just sitting right there with my kids, writing songs. So this is one of those songs I remember. It's called Judy Calls.
Tonight we'll kiss, tomorrow I'd miss your tender lips, your warm embrace. Each time I leave, I wonder if I'd hold you in my arms again.
Yeah, it was 74, 75. I just begun to discover the fusion of what Marley was doing. He was taking reggae and he was crossing with blues and rock. I could feel that. Folk and British top 40 and pop. I said, this guy is doing what I can identify with, you know.
I'm on my way, can't stay anymore, anymore.
Yeah, that's where he started here, right here.
That's great.
My classroom. So, I'm home one Saturday afternoon. And this guy drives in the yard, a musician from a band I know in St. Martin, a very popular band called the Rolling Tones.
This is our first album. And we got a contract to play in the United States for the second time. And this guy, the keyboard player, he couldn't make it because of his job. So I came to Anguilla and I picked up Bankie and I asked him if he would like to go to St. Martin to play music professionally.
We'd rent you a house, you play with us, we pay your salary. Yeah. I said, really? Okay.
This was a high-powered band. This was a band that had been around St. Martin maybe for 10, 15 years. It gave him an opportunity to expand his horizons because he was into music. He was not turning back from the music.
I go home, tell my mom what I'm doing, and I write a 3-line resignation. The principal of the school. And I got on the ferry with the hogs and pigs and lobsters, with my bag and my guitar, and I went to St. Martin. Yeah.
How could he give up a home?
Dreamer? Dreamer.
Oh,
Yes.
dreamer. How could he forsake his own?
That's more of a personal song, I think. Of course, that's him. Yeah.
It was scandalous, you know. People were like, is he crazy? Nobody ever did that. This guy, you know, he's never gonna get a job for the government again, you know. He fired the government.
They say he's a dreamer. He's gone on his mind. They say he's a wasting away all his time.
You call me a dreamer, and you're telling me I'm out of my mind, you know, and I'm wasting time and different things like that, you know, and this is who I am, not who you want me to be.
That song has often come to my mind, you know. You gotta be a dreamer, you know, you gotta do things big. People will think you're crazy, they'll discourage you, but I'm looking beyond the times.
Yeah, so I go. They put me in this house with the best equipment. So I had all this time to work out my own shit.
He lived almost like a recluse in St. Martin. He produced a lot of material based on the way he lived, his background, his vision about things.
I just become a vegetarian and Rastafari, trying to figure out what I'm gonna do. And then they decided to do the album. They heard one of my songs, which is called The Battle's On. I said, yeah, we want you to record that one first. I'm gonna put that on the album. My song was the #1 song of the album. Bankie Banx, The Battle's On.
That's me there.
Oh, yeah, that's me, Sherry, the Afro.
And yeah.
Heavy Afro.
And you're right here.
I couldn't believe he was from Anguilla. He was so amazing, the depth in his singing and his lyrics.
So who's this guy? Because I never heard of Bankie, but I sold a lot of that record because of that song.
The album became very popular in St. Martin. And funny, at that time, my sister was also living in St. Martin as a teacher. She met a DJ called Dave Douglas.
Dave Douglas was a big, big DJ from the British Virgin Islands, and he got an opportunity because of Linda to listen to some of Bankie's songs just with the guitar. Back in those days, I was the owner of a #1 music store in St. Martin, and all the DJs and Dave would come there. He said to me, I discovered the Neil Diamond of the Caribbean. His name is Bankie Banx.
Jules Sharpie was trying to get into production. Dave Douglas told him I had lots of songs, and maybe he should produce an album.
I didn't give it any mind because I saw him as just another singer from these dance bands. We had many local dance bands in Anguilla, St. Thomas, but Dave kept insisting that you have to hear Bankie. So I decided to go to Anguilla.
So this is when I started going back home, regularly rehearsing with my old band. The audition was done in my mom's house. No big sound, no big noise, just the sound.
I think they played 3 songs. That was enough for me. I turned to Dave, and I said, Dave, I don't need to hear any more. We need to go to the studio.
In a couple of weeks, we were in the studio in San Juan. And 5 weeks later, we had 4 number ones in the Caribbean. And the rest is history.
That first album that Bankie did, it really created waves around the Caribbean. The most popular radio station regionally was a station called Radio Antilles, and they really loved his music, and so he became #1 in the Caribbean.
It was as though he put too much good stuff on one album. Prince of Darkness, Hitching a Ride, Mother Dear.
I'm not much of a singer, but I used to find myself singing those 2 songs, Prince of Darkness and The Dreamer.
Prince of Darkness was the top song in the region, and he was being compared with Bob Marley.
It was popular all through the Caribbean. In fact, when I went to university in Trinidad, and the hood was from Anguilla and Bankie Banx was my brother, I always talked with Bankie Banx, Prince of Darkness.
The Prince of Darkness walks behind me. But he will never, 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 never control me.
This was emotion. The Prince of Darkness just didn't mean demonic. It means the opposing and the pressure you're getting from people who don't understand you and wanted to change you and rearrange you, but you'll never control me. I'm going to carry my cross. I'm going to carry my cross. And that's what he was feeling. That's why that album was magnificent, is because everything was really coming out. It was like, I want to tell you these things a long time.
Back then, Bankie was the keyboard player, not even the guitarist. And there was this guy, Ireno. He was the lead guitarist, and he was amazing.
Regardless of what you into, there's a song on that album that you're going to feel he wrote that just for you. We got the Christians coming. We got the hardcore Rastaman coming. We got a little bit of everybody coming. We got the sentimentalists. We got the political people. We got the lovers. We got the romantics. We got the separatists, politicians. There's something in there for everybody. When you find writers like that, you got to honor and respect them and listen to what they got to say.
These guys was guys who was very confident in themselves and thought they were superstars. Ras B, I Wonder I D, I Slay, Tasha Setole.
Not forgetting Idola, the bass man. He was a wicked bass man. Idola, enough respect to him,
They were the roots with their locks and everything, and then we were the
spices.
For Bankie to be the leader of a group of people like that, it took a lot of strength. And they came together as a group of brothers who created something special for the Caribbean. Bankie Banx and the Roots and Herbs.
Before I made my own songs and made my own band, I was never the front man. I became the front man by, first of all, lifting up all the shit and dragging it around. Making my guitar, and sometimes paying for all the shit.
Carrying my cross.
Woo! Hey! It's a party, it's a party.
Once the radio stations began to play his music, I'd say, we have our local, Bob Marley, Peter Tosh, Bunny Wailer. He is at that level. And the entire Caribbean is going to be calling for this band. I got so involved that I toured with him as the manager.
Bob Marley and Peter Tosh and all those big bands were not coming here. And we were here, and we were doing every major venue in the Eastern Caribbean.
St. Kitts, Antigua, Montserrat, Guadeloupe, Dominica, man, St. Vincent. I mean, let me tell you something. I was so young that I didn't even know what was going on. Let me tell you like that.
It was just after Marley, and people respected Bankie, and we were a good group, The government were kind of pleased with what Bankie was doing, because I guess he was putting us on the map.
He's from Anguilla. They couldn't believe it. Wherever we went, we sold out. Even those islands that could not even understand the language, look at Guadeloupe.
We had so much of people in that audience. It looked like the whole of Guadeloupe were there. Every promoter we had called us back 2-3 times. Wherever we go, we had full house.
Don't you got to tell about the night in St. Vincent, baby? We couldn't get into the venue. You had to claw over the roof.
Yeah, man. So many people was left out of the show. That's why we did it twice.
Them times there was happy times, man. Caribbean people had loved us and we had loved them also.
Everybody were in harmony with the band, with music, with themselves. Everybody was very conscious.
Yeah, man, 'cause back in them days, reggae was like so fresh and new, you know? And people are just gravitating to this thing. So when we went out there, the man, enough respect, you know? Enough respect, people give back, you know?
Basic message was like reggae social commentary, you know, resistance to imperialism, colonialism. These guys like Walter Rodney coming back and gaining influence.
We are saying that we identify with the African people of the African continent. We are saying that we are an African people.
Walter Rodney actually was called the most dangerous man in the Caribbean. And he inspired lots of people, including me.
In those days in Anguilla, it was like kind of revolutionary to have a band like that, which had a focus. You know, most of the other bands were just about playing music.
But my acceptance as a voice in the region, I felt humble and a passion to join the struggle in this way. Freedom fighters, but with music, you know. Now we're going up Dusty Street. This is Dusty Street. This is where my band and myself lived for 6 years.
Dusty Street, as you'd call the place where they lived, was so that he could really get into his music 24 hours a day.
It was an abandoned house. There was no electricity. We had to dig a trench. But anyway, in a couple of weeks, we had it up and running, and at least the band can just take it over and practice.
Roots and Herbs was suddenly on top of the game, and I was living at home, coming home with all my friends and rehearsing in the bedroom, and clouds of smoke sometimes. My mom had a boarding house. But she said, I don't want any funny scents in my house. I have very important guests. You can do whatever you want, but you cannot do it in my house. I moved out and got this place for 175 ECs. It's not even $100 a month. It was totally derelict. I just came up and cleaned it out and painted. And it became the headquarters for Roots and Herbs, you know? Hey, Raymond, I'm coming to get some old history. Do you remember I used to live here with Roots and Herbs?
Irma done me a number.
Yeah, Irma did all of us a number, man. Can we take a little walk through? We don't want to go in your private section. Oh, shit, we still got the old counter here. Still got the old counter here. This is the kitchen area. This is the garage. And this is my room. My room in Dusty. 7 or 8 of us lived in this place. We all lived together. We woke up and we rehearsed. That's all we did when we were home. Bankie Banx, Roots and Herbs, we rehearsed twice a day.
Yeah, them days at Dusty Street, yes. Lot of rehearsals, Dred.
Lot of rehearsal.
When he wanted practice, he wanted practice, irrespective of what you had to do.
He will come there in the band house and he will be there working out his tune. And we gonna sit down and listen to him, getting the tune set in. That's it, we here. We gotta give it a try. Yeah. We're here. We're here.
It was cool. It was very cool with meeting Tasha and Isley and so on, and then little by little bonding with them.
So you gotta take a picture of this tree. This is where we used to have open fires and cook out here at night. You know, big clay pots with what we call ital food.
They live happy together as a tight-knit family. It even made the music tighter.
It was a movement, music and Rasta movement.
You know, these guys lived together, wrote music together, kind of like on a commune. And so you have a lot of time to really form an opinion, to analyze whether or not your outlook on life really makes sense, and then draw some references to be able to support that.
A whole lot of stuff. Even a bottle of scotch. Actually, is still alive. Tasha's still alive. And I see it's quite possible for us to get together, with Sandra and Amelia and Priscilla, to try to even come back with something of the Arabs, you know. Old funky guy. Shit. This looks like the old roots and herbs. That's it. No water rope. See, it works.
Take that off. Let me see what the next one looks like.
Yeah, they tell me I look too bright, right?
I mean, okay, he back in the 80s, but I mean, that's still a little bit much. Yeah, that better. That better, yeah. I mean, it pick up the colors in your pants. It pick up the color.
You always tell me too shabby.
No, that look better, yeah.
Lord Jesus. I can get rough. You want me rougher?
No.
Are you like, I know you all like me rough. I can get rough. No, all right.
Where you get these from? That look like the Salvation Army story.
So.
Really no. What happened to the sleeve? I just seen the sleeve. Go and put on the same one I had on just before that, the colorful one, and then come. Use a shit pot. Sometimes I feel like telling him off, but what I could do? He doesn't change, so. You'll tell him no a million times, and he'll still come back, and eventually you'll say, okay, when is the practice? There we go. You know, what are we still doing here after how many years? How many years? You know what I mean? And every time, there's that, I ain't coming back, and I'm here. He's infectious. I guess he wanted to beat Elvis Presley.
He's still trying to change me. After all these years.
Try and fail.
The song I wrote after I did a concert in Guadeloupe with Roots and Herbs. It was like a showcase.
Look here, the glass full again.
Hold on, 'cause my glass is leaking.
You need to see another one.
It's leaking, man. Hey.
That way he ain't playing the notes right.
All the producers and scouts would come down from Paris. The agent for Polygram Records, let's go. He wanted me to forget about Bankie Banx, Roots and Herbs, and come to Paris and live in his house and produce music. That was the offer.
There is a dusty street on a dry hillside where I and I abide. We live in harmony, face reality, we look up to the sky.
I never wanted to leave in the first place, I would say.
The moon shines down right in my face.
It was the perfect place to be for the time and the way I was feeling. And Babylon was out there, and the cities were Babylon. You're just getting the consciousness of being health conscious, Rasta. Everything was like a total revolution of thought. So why do I want to go to Babylon? Where you want to take me to Paris to get musicians, for me to start to do all this shit again, which I created? And then the other thing that really was an insult to me, saying to me, come and swim in my Olympic-sized swimming pool. I live on the ocean. I'm a beach boy. You can't impress me with a fucking pool and a lawn. You know, I went up to a hill in Crocus Hill, pretty old fort where we were the other day, when I wrote this song.
It takes away my sorrow. I'm alive, kicking still.
Where I and I Abide was also a huge success. I decided to mix that album in the Bahamas at a studio that belonged to Chris Blackwell, the producer of Bob Marley. I knew where I was going with Bankie. Contacts were established, negotiations were going on, and I didn't care if I made money or not. I just wanted to take that group that I discovered and put them on the map. It was unfortunate that exactly at the time that I was about to take him to a different level, we went through some differences. And I think Bankie and myself, we don't like to talk about that period because it was kind of sad for both of us. But we still remain friends up to today. We are very, very close. And I feel good about that.
Somebody out there in the hill.
I was not ready to leave the brethren. I made up my mind. Songs normally make up my mind. Is that good enough?
Dick Douglas is the one that took over Bankie after me. His plan was to take Bankie to England and from there make him a big superstar.
Bankie was just going places, man. And 83 was a good year for us because we went to Jamaica. One of the biggest things, again, for me in my life, yeah, Reggae Sunsplash.
We were the first non-Jamaican band from the Caribbean to be invited. That was a great experience.
Oh, heist the Union Jack. There's a dirty stain on it, Captain. There's a dirty stain on it. It fell in the ditch.
My first experience even knowing about Bankie Banx was really as a young boy in Montego Bay, Jamaica. The Reggae Sunsplash team and their base of operations used to be at the hotel where my mom's store was, and they usually put out a magazine showing you all the acts for the next week, and that's the first time I ever saw Bankie Banx. I knew everybody else from the Jamaican fraternity. Who is this dude, Bankie Banx? I never heard of him.
Bankie Banx was supposed to be amongst all those guys, Steel Pulse, Dennis Brown, all of them, the mad. Bus come pick us up. Gone now to the venue where the place is. I never see so much people in my life.
I was cruising up my yacht called Kent. With my friend White Whistler, Helen the Sages. We met the Royal Yacht Britannia. On board, I chat with Prince of Wales. He said he liked to trip on the canter. He just couldn't stand those long cocktails. He blew my pipe. I got in Jamaica. Jamaican stuff and rolled on like with my White Whistler. Handling the sails.
But when we reached Jamaica, it's like, yes, this is it, man. You know, the land of reggae music, the land of ganja, the land of, you know, culture, you know?
We did well. We did well. We held our side as a new band.
Sugar Man was standing next to me in the bus, you know, and he was saying how Bankie music is so good. It's only the Wailers, you know?
Imagine, back in 83, Third World, them there going on bad, Bankie going on bad. And today, Cat from Third World and Bankie is the two best of friends. You hear me? After so many years now, these men come to Anguilla like nothing. You see? Bankie bring a lot of reggae artists here, you know. A lot of reggae artists from Jamaica he bring here, so respect again, man.
He blew my pipe. I got in Colombia.
This was such a great year, that year, 83. We did the Sunsplash, then we stayed along to St. Vincent and Bob Dylan's boat, the waterfall.
The Bob Dylan thing was really kind of very spontaneous like that. He commissioned this boat to be built in Beckwith on the Grandies, a real old Caribbean schooner. Long story short, he was sailing around. I think this might have been one of his maiden trips. So he came north and he sailed into Road Bay. Following morning, I'm at my place in the valley. And a guy pulls up, he says, "Morning, I'm Chris Bowman. I'm the captain of Bob Dylan's boat. Dylan heard your cassette last night and he really would like you to come on board and bring two guitars because he broke the neck of his guitar on the trip." I was blown away, of course. Bob Dylan, come on. I didn't have to go to look for him, he's looking for me. And as soon as I got there, he took a guitar in his hand. "Can you play that song, The Prince of Darkness?" And I spent 20 minutes with him just kind of singing the song, playing the chords. And I said, I need to get this guy in my studio. That time I had my little Tascam. Dylan and myself made a demo. When I got married, I lived here for years. Omari grew up here. His room was right on top of the studio. I guess he had music in his head all night. So here is Dylan. And the next question was, "Bankie, what about this girl to do the backups for you? You think we can get him over here right now?" He said, "I want you just to sing this over this track." We worked out the 3-part harmony on that, and we played it back for him. And he looked at me, and he said, "You know something, Bankie? I heard you do tours on boats. I'll give you my boat for 6 weeks for you and your band to do whatever you want in the Caribbean." And that was like, wow. After that, he actually came back and rented a place just next door to where I was living at that time. And I'd cook up soups, and we hung out like that, just casually, you know. After that, I didn't see Bob for years.
I lived for a while at his home with his wife and his 2 kids. But we moved to that house down on the corner where we could jam. Bankie thought it would be good to include the other young reggae bands and give them the opportunity. I played with the other bands, jam with everybody.
And he used to have a practice session there in that building. The building is not there any longer, but I still pass the area.
At the corner of the road, there was this old wooden house. There was not those big hotels yet. I like this little lady and her goats. That was Anguilla then. The school children. Ibis with my t-shirt, the one with the notes. I was in the States at that time and going back to Saint Martin in a sailboat. It was a terrible trip, and we had a big storm from the first day till the last. And at one point I was a bit desperate and nothing was working, but then suddenly I found a radio that was working, and I hear the Prince of Darkness in the middle of the storm. And I love that song and the words and everything. And so finally we arrived in Saint Martin, and the next day Bankie was playing in Marigot in Saint Martin. So I went to the concert, and that's where I met him. After that, I rented this place near him because I wanted to stay there and get to know him better and get to know the band. I started to make a little movie with my little camera. Every Saturday, they will put out all the big speakers and everything.
It was the first time people could do home videos and stuff. And she shot a scene of us on the corner doing what we do. My cousin was actually married to Lorne Michaels from NBC. She showed this island scene, and he loved it.
Lord Michael helped me with a big camera and an assistant and everything. And then I really wanted to make a clip of one song, so we chose this one.
Down at the corner, logging enchanting.
We used to jam every Friday night because, you know, entertain the people. There wasn't much going on in Anguilla, and it was appreciated and a breath of fresh air.
People loved it, and everybody would pass by, like you see in the movies. And they will invite any musician who wanted to jam with them or whatever. Thank you with this tight pants. I did not set up anything. We just took things as they were happening.
I remember me trying to create a dance spontaneously. I showed it to my kids and they laugh at me. What was that, you know?
The lifestyle was very pure. No alcohol, strictly vegetarian. I ate their food. Spoke their wheat. We had some good times together.
My friend Nico Perrot introduced me to Bankie and his music. I spent time in Jamaica, and I'd met Bob Marley a couple of times. Bankie was kind of the Eastern Caribbean version of that to me, and I mean, there was a real connection to his roots.
Jimmy Buffett had a little boat, a nice boat, and he used to go from island to island. He was not famous yet, only in Florida they knew him.
Well, Jimmy, huh? I remember going on boats after concerts. He was in a boat in Marigot with Nicole here. We met casually over a joint.
I thought he wrote really good songs, and they told stories that people related to.
We're not talking about socialism, capitalism, or communism. And we don't want to be terrorized, criminalized, or victimized.
The video came out very nice. In fact, Paul Simon liked it very much. He introduced us to Warner Brothers. The guy at Warner Brothers loved the music, and he wanted to do something, but he did not get along with the agent.
Nick Douglas had a very tight contract with Bankie, and I never understood up to this day why he hasn't been successful in achieving what he did set out to do.
I think that Warner Brothers will have to take it. I met the big boss in New York. He was very enthusiastic. But after a while, they said, we cannot get along with this guy. He wants too much. This guy put a break on his career. With local agent, who had all rights on everything except touring. So I decided to take them to Europe.
So he went to Europe in 1984, and he stayed there for 3 years.
For 7 years, I didn't make any money, but I knew that I could do it on the road. But I think Bankie went in the same direction because there were a lot of bigger labels that were after him, but he was out there finding his audience.
Yeah, so Dusty Street Band traveling to Europe. The first one, as they would say.
This is a Turkish guy who played sax with us called Yale. He was there for part of the tour. When we went to Europe, I could not release or publish anything. So we had Down the Corner as a promo thing.
We decided to go to London because there was a guy of Sky Channel at the time who really liked the video, and he put it on Sky Channel in England.
That was another experience again. Because imagine we in the islands, we hearing about Europe, England, and them places, that kind of way. Bob Marley, all these guys, them used to mash up England, and So we like, yeah, man, going to England. But when we went over there, those places so big, right? That you got to be known, You got to have your videos going, radio, so people hear about you. So it took us a while to really get in and get some gigs going.
We didn't feel the cold for a couple of weeks. We were running around and the cold hadn't gotten to our bones. But when the real winter came and the snow came, that was something else. That was a kick in the face.
A couple nights, we played outside for some people. Oh, my fingers were so numb I couldn't even hear the notes and the song,
Tasha got lost in the fucking snow, man.
Yeah. I didn't know what direction to go.
When Santa Claus coming from the north with the snow running down, but he knows when Tasha do appear, you ever liquid fall from here, it's frozen.
Sometimes it was very hard in England because the guys were getting discouraged, but they liked it also, they were very impressed with the shopping centers and all this. We stayed in London for a while until the guy of Sky Channel made a hit in all the northern countries.
Down the Corner got to number 3 on the charts, and that's France,
all
Switzerland, all over Europe. That's what began to, for me to be able to get work.
And they invited us for a tour in Amsterdam.
We played at the Milky Way. That club, even today, is a very cool club, and the people enjoyed it. Yeah. Musicians would come forward and say, yeah, that's different, It was rocky, soul-y, ballady, at the same time reggae. So, yeah, it was welcome. So we were based in England. We would go to Holland, come back, go to France and come back. At some point, we decided to make a move and settle in France a little bit. That base will be easier to work with the rest of the European countries and so on.
Oh, then we got our Same Old Song.
Yeah.
That was written actually on the way to Kansas. A song called Same Old Song. And that song was a letter to my mom. It was like, mama, 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 yeah. Yeah, mama, mama, yeah, same old song.
It was just so great to see those places, And we played some nice places in Paris,
Bankie played in all the good clubs in London, in Amsterdam, in Paris. People listened to his music and said, okay, we take him. They played in a lot of good places, but never made much money. We could not work a deal for records and things, so that was hard for him too.
So now, we got to find job and work to do because now we in this apartment, people got to eat, you got to smoke, and, it's pretty expensive,
But then there was this guy who was the agent of Wham. Bankie told you about Wham. He wanted to make a record with Bankie, but not with a band, just Bankie. And me, I felt so sorry for all those guys. You know, they are all the time making no money, just being there and all this. And we sent them away, so I left also. But I stayed friend with Bankie, so, you know.
By the time Isley and Tasha decided to go home, we already had a little, you know, a little connection with Caribbean musicians like us who spoke English. So we formed a band, found an agency that got takes for us, and we were doing what we could do.
I'm supposed to read the whole thing. So hold on, I'll let it read. 7 March 1986. 45 Rue des Amandiers. Dear mother, it's been a long time since I've been able to get the inspiration to write a letter to you, even though you're in my thoughts every day and night. Things change so quickly that sometimes it's almost impossible to say anything positively about my achievements. And I hate to complain. I mean, this is my sacrifice and my decision. I always think
thinking about Olaide and Omari at home without mother or father. And it makes me very sad sometimes, but it makes me still happy to know that they are in the hands of the best mother anyone can possibly have. A mother that gave me not only material security, but something worth much more that has kept me alive and strong during this period of my life. Dignity. No matter the color of your skin, your eyes, or the way you keep your hair, it comes through and it gives you power to handle almost every situation and be respected by everyone with similar qualities.
Things will be better now that I have been able to send the band home, but I must stay for some time to promote the record and do some concerts. It's been very difficult to get the money for this, so I did not have enough to get what I really wanted for Lady and Omari, but as soon as it is possible, I will do so. Give them all my love and everyone at home. Lots of love to you also.
Your missing son. Thank you. It's very sentimental, so I'm sure he would like me to understand, you know, why he went away, you know, why he did what he did. It was good to know that he was in communication with his mother and whatnot. He didn't just run away, you know, he was doing the right thing.
When Bankie decided, okay, I've had enough, I stayed.
Humility is silence. When I go into silence, and this silence is your soul. Inside, I go into it in every situation. The day after I came back from Europe, my sister died. That was something that made me something else too, you know.
She was in a car accident. She was driving towards the sun, and there was somebody who parked a forklift across the road.
It was just incredible, you know, that she passed in the way she did. It was a horrific accident and just snuffed out. It impacted all of us greatly.
That's when he started drinking.
I mean, Gloria's death affected all of us because we were very close, you know, and it was tragic.
He dealt with it in his own way.
Because he's her brother.
And they were the two youngest. And she would sometimes accompany him on stage too, you know.
She could sing, she could play the instruments and dance, and she could wow a crowd.
When I heard that sad news, I lost my balance. I fell. I lost my capability to stand. She was especially talented.
When I look at Omari, who's a singer, and all my nieces and nephews from that generation who know her, they all got her spirit when they play and they sing, all that good vibes. Only God knows how he makes his plan for things to go ahead.
I think the family would have been much different if you were still here, you know. But that's the way it happened, yeah.
88 is when I started to be in New York. Regular, yeah. 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94.
Gazing out on the New York City skyline, I see a grim and fading sunset. I see a gray and awesome silhouette as it melts into the night.
I was working at a studio called Secret Sound and making videos at National Video, NVI. Brian Kelly is the head there. And when Bankie came up to New York and he was just finishing a CD, Brian asked me if I could help Bankie work on the CD because I was in the studio, and that's how we met. As soon as we met, we became friends. We just both liked the same kind of music, and Bankie is Bankie.
I first met Bankie through a mutual friend of ours. He said to me, I have somebody I want you to meet. And the person who he had waiting for me to meet was none other than Mr. Bankie Banx himself. He asked me to sing something, and I sang something, and he said, that's it, okay. So we're going on tour, such and such and so, and he just launched right in. And he has been my friend ever since.
I was a teenager when I first came to Anguilla in the late 80s, and heard everybody talking about Bankie Banx and Bankie Banx, but Bankie wasn't here. And so I met Bankie for the first time in New York, and I was very surprised because Bankie lived right across the street from my grandmother. It was quite funny because my grandmother and Bankie also developed a relationship when they'd bump into each other on 32nd Street.
So I had like a studio apartment there. I cooked a lot of nice food there for my friends too.
There was a time when he would have been living in the States and coming back to Anguilla to play. And then in 1989, we would have started to build this house. March 13th, 1989, 4 days after Tahira's birth. That was a lot. But it's all about facilitating and helping to make things work.
By the time he got to New York, he was doing things that had more of an influence of rock. He was doing like...
Sal strutting down the beach with high heels on. Son is sitting home watching Cheech and Chong. Lost in the screen of the empty dream. Losing it all, losing all that's real.
When I sat down and looked at the lyrics, I was like, this is a prophet. This is a prophet. What he was saying, even though he's Rastafarian and I'm Christian, is the same thing. Walter Rodney, Pan-Africanism. We were reading the same things. We were studying the same people.
Capitalistic craze, contagious play, taking over the world.
So being in a band with Bankie was just an extension of what I had been living already. It was just an extension.
Shortly after I moved from Jamaica to New York, my friend Chris brought me up to meet Bankie and asked me to come on this gig. You know, then we got the rehearsal, and it was a cool vibe, yeah.
I was on tour, and I hooked up with Junior, and he said he's playing with this guy named Bankie Banx. So I ended up one day in Manhattan at the rehearsals, and that's the first time I ever laid eye on Bankie Banx. And I saw this guy in the cowboy hat, the boots, the jeans with the big belt buckle. I'm like, okay, he does look like a cowboy.
He's definitely not what I expected. When I brought friends to see his shows, it was a little difficult to explain what we were going to see.
It's just Bankie Banx music, you know? But it has everything. If you're a rocker, you can find a place there. The roots, the island flavor.
And it has folk in it. And it has that country vibe in it. And then he has some intricate 6/8 and 3/4 shit going on, which is considered jazz, for Christ's sake. It's a big fruit punch going on there, you know what I'm saying? The flavor comes out and it tastes great.
We had great times in New York, you know? I remember going to SOBs.
He stood on his head at SOB. That might have been my first headstand. There are a few Banx moves that are essential to know. One is the headstand. When the legs get up in the air, you can have a couple of options for a move. You could have the scissor, as so, This was or sometimes open and close, right? But you have to be prepared because when that spirit starts flowing and he starts moving and the music starts going, whatever the spirit calls for is what he's gonna do, is what he's gonna give it.
High, high, high. I'm hitting a ride. Say I'm stoned, bone stoned. I wanna get on.
Bankie was performing a lot in New York, and he had just come off a tour, and he was wanting to get back home. And he invited my wife and I to come down to Anguilla and meet the gang down there. And he said, well, you know, I want to do a festival there sometime. And I said, that's a great idea, you know, let's do it. This was the design for the very first Moonsplash, and that was only on Sandy Island for 2 nights and an afternoon. It's kind of cool. Things you pick up around your studio. Bankie came up with the name Moonsplash. I just like putting on shows. You know, I could help Bankie financially to get musicians down there. We carried maybe 3-4 boats worth of equipment. The band was helping lift the stuff out of the boats, and that was the first one, and it was very successful. People from St. Martin and St. Bart's were there. They said, well, you guys should come over here the next year. So the next 2 years, we started out playing on Sandy Island and then move all the stuff onto boats. 2 bands worth of people and equipment going by little boats from island to island. We all had a good time, but it was just craziness.
Yeah, these are like wild concerts that I started to do years ago on Moonlight Nights. And it's really caught on, and we managed to put together a Moonsplash tour this year, which we hope to make a real thing in the Caribbean and anywhere else.
When I first met Bankie, I was doing this reggae show every Thursday on WERS in Boston, and Bankie's former manager, Winnie, came to me, you know, with a CD prior to a performance at the Western Front. You know, I was trying to do a different sort of show, kind of on the borderline of rock and reggae, and from the second I heard Island Boy, Bankie just fit that perfectly.
Island Boy. It's a song I wrote coming home from New York after 6 months dealing with all the business and stuff, you know. And they ask you a question like, so Bankie Banx, where are you from? Are you from Jamaica? Because they got dreadlocks. I say, no. I'm not from Jamaica, I'm just an island boy.
I'm an island boy. I grew on the farm.
The thing I like about Bankie's music is the reality that he brings to the table. It's like he's not singing bullshit.
I can chase the goat. I can plant the corn. I'm in the ocean. Got the crack of dawn.
That just depict the whole vibe. Without meeting Bankie, I could just see I'm an island boy.
And I thought it was so nice. The chorus, for example, says,
I remember some things my mama said.
I remember something my mama said.
She was standing there by the flower bed.
I didn't know the song at all, you know?
You hear what she said?
She said happiness
is peace of mind.
And I thought that was so deep, you know?
All the rest ain't really done. Ain't really done.
Oh, fuck, the words of that shit, bro.
Yeah, that's my guy.
With Island Boy, I think he was finally just able to do what he wanted, you know? As you track through the Island Boy album, there's hints of world music and Spanish flair and folk songs, and there's traditional reggae songs. It flowed in an incredible way for such a diverse musical album.
Fly away, fly away.
This album should be in the Library of Congress. We brought in Bankie, full band, in the studio. After that performance, things really started to pick up momentum in Boston. There was a show in Woodbury, Connecticut, where he opened for Burning Spear. Nantucket was a huge one that there's a reporting of. And his manager, Winnie, one day just said, would you bring the music that you've recorded, you know, in the States and come and do our radio interviews in Anguilla.
How I miss the island sunrise. It puts the sparkle in my eye.
The first 3 moon splashes were traveling ones. And then Bankie said, okay, I own this property. Let's do it here.
He visualizes these things. He knew the family land was there, and he saw an opportunity to do what he wanted to do, and we didn't stand in his way.
Land and Anguilla often cause fights, but we haven't allowed that to divide us, basically. In the 1950s, the central government sold out all this beach land for farming in 10-acre lots. Anguillans in those days didn't build on the beach. My father saw the potential and he bought the land. And my mother realized that it would be valued much more in the future, and she held on to it. And that's how we are able to have this land.
Moonsplash started before the Dune Preserve as we have it. It was just bush. It was just like lizards, birds, trees. Like there's literally no way to get there.
I was like, I know it's not at the house. He said a beach. Where's the beach? So he drives us down the road, but the dune is not what you all know as the Dune. I was like, okay.
I was like the radio guy. And, when I wasn't doing that, I was sleeping on a floor and waking up first thing in the morning, running to the beach, drinking tea made of some mystery grass from the backyard.
The band would stay here. We just made do here in this house,
I would take Amari's bed. It was just a family vibe.
We met Bullet. Oh gosh, I remember them just staying up, smoke and work, smoke and work, smoke and work.
Moonsplash started before we even built a venue,
They built this little stage right on the beach. And again, we had to carry equipment to this place, generators was, crazy.
There wasn't a real road to get down here. So when he would have Moonsplash, no one would know how to get here. So me and Omari would have to get candles.
We would land the beach at Rendezvous Bay with little paper bags, and you would put like little snap lights inside of the bag.
And it was a real sight to behold, to see people walking down the beach. My mother was there. We were all there.
You were literally standing in the water looking up at the stage. That first Moonsplash that I attended, Sade was there. I found myself standing next to Sade in the water.
I remember looking at the water and saying, my God, you are great. And I was just, I was praising God. I was like, zzz, and I was not high.
Then after Moonsplash, we all just jump off and swim.
Once I was able to see for myself how excited people were. And that's when I really understood what a towering force he was in the Caribbean. It made me even more hungry to bring him to the States as much as possible.
Bankie had just lost his keyboard player for whatever reason. He joined another band or something. And his bass player, Derek, was like, so what are you looking for? And he just described me. He was like, a girl, somebody who could sing and play keys, a vegetarian, someone with locks. I had locks at the time. And Derek was like, let me make a phone call, and that was it.
And that was nice. It's always nice to have another woman there.
I remember one time we were playing at this club called Nell's. I remember seeing Prince in the house.
Nell's was absolutely wonderful because that used to be the spot. That was the place to be. Denzel Washington would come. Those were good gigs.
He was performing a lot in New York, for a young man from the Caribbean, having a career. And, something brought him back to the island.
You go to New York after come from London and Paris, and producers want to pigeonhole you so they can just run you through. I get a call from my mother, and she says, hey, Clement, this guy, Bob Dylan, keeps on calling the house. So I reconnect with Dylan in New York, and he said to me, it's this life-changing thing for me, but he said, Bankie, I cover 2 reggae songs once in a while. It's The Harder They Come by Jimmy Cliff, and your song, The Prince of Darkness. I mean, I almost fell off my feet.
Imagine writing something when you're 18 years old, and then Bob Dylan copying it. Extraordinary. I've started fumbling through Bob Dylan fan club sites and God knows what else to try and find it. And there's a track called Carrying My Cross. It was nice to be able to play it to him, although Bob Dylan doesn't do a very good job of it.
I went back home, I say to myself, What the hell am I doing in New York putting up with all this shit? I could just go home and write another song like Prince of Darkness. It'll be all right. This is where it all started, you know. This is the cabin I built, you know, as a backstage for Moonsplash. When I came back from the U.S. and decided to come home, you know, I separated from the house up the hill, family, and Bullet was always here.
You can't talk about the Dune Preserve without Bullet, right? Bullet builds boats for a living, so he has the ability to execute these wild things that Bankie has in his mind.
The first thing we built on the property is Bankie little shack. Bankie lived in that before he decided to create anything else around here.
When he moved down there, the Dune Preserve was not a fully formed idea. I don't know how much you know about that whole Busted in Barbados experience.
I was busted.
This was something that happened in 1994. So he had been based in New York, and so he'd have to go every year, every couple of years to do his visa in Barbados. And so he went to Barbados, and there was this big raid on his hotel room. They found a roach in there. He ultimately got arrested, so he was denied his visa and couldn't get back into the country. And it was after that that he had to figure out what he was doing and make a plan B.
I didn't know, because he's such a big personality, how he would fare just being on Anguilla. And I was worried for a while. And I'm like, oh no, he's going to have to get out, because that little island is not big enough for him. It's not gonna satisfy him. He's gonna go crazy there.
Everybody's always, when are you coming back? And even my mom at one point said, oh, you're not gonna go back to New York? But the more I stayed there, the more I felt this was the time I need to be here.
He used to go and come all the time. It wasn't until he started to spend more time in Anguilla when we got really close. And that's when he started building the Dune.
All of us would help him drag timber over the hill and scour the island, finding stuff.
Most of our material, we go on the beach and pick it up. When you would think of throwing it in the garbage, me and Bankie look at it like we could make something from that.
Bullet built the first boat bar on the beach.
The ganja boat down there is half of that boat.
Yep,
just the boat we built for the roof of that thing. And that was the first bar, the Dune bar.
It was literally just like a piece of wood with some shelves behind it and a couple tables. It was a very basic situation.
People would walk by every now and then. Bankie would have a cooler with a beer. He'd sit in his hammock to play his guitar or whatever. You could serve yourself a beer and leave the money while Bankie played.
I remember my mother used to say, my dad is one of the only people who could play and watch at the bar, watch how much money he's making at the bar at the same time.
He would add a little bit. The weather would take away a little bit. A hurricane would take away the whole thing.
Hurricane Louise came when I was pregnant with my daughter. I got pregnant here in Anguilla. I was supposed to come here for 3 weeks, and I ended up staying for 5 months. And the plan was for me to give birth here. And one day I just woke up and was like, bang, I need to change my ticket. I gotta get out of here. Bankie was shocked, you know? I flew back to the States. I didn't realize it at the time, but I got the last plane out. Louise was devastating.
Mother Nature did what you had to do, you know? What are you gonna do? Sit and lie and cry? No, man. You just get up and put it back together. We live with nature. We gotta live with it. You can't fight against it.
After Hurricane Louis, he picked up driftwood around the island to rebuild. You know, he picked up the bits and the pieces and was able to bring them together into something better.
I remember after Hurricane Louis, when I rebuilt my whole place almost entirely, pieces that were washed up on the beach. Everything is beautiful there. Look at the shape of that. See why I wear cowboy boots now? I say I'm an artist, but I'm just finding things that look beautiful from nature. Try to find ways to put them together and make them beautiful. There's nothing new under the sun. Every design that you've seen everywhere, it was done out there in nature, you know. We just take it and add other things, and then say we did it, but we did. We co-created. Just like a floor tile. That fits right in. Right? Perfect, right? Let's go somewhere else. I said there's so many natural resources for artists, people with a creative mind to develop into whatever they want. The Dune is about that for me, is to inspire people to Hey, life is not that difficult. You don't sit down and complain. You don't have to get a job. You can be self-employed by just going to the beach and picking up some wood and putting a little mind to it and just twisting it around. Every piece of wood is a special piece, and that's what makes people excited. Not just the same piece of plastic shit. It's made in China and printed with another name on it. This is my lecture for the moment. Is that beautiful or what? It's a hat rack. Check this out. You stand it up in the corner of a boutique, and you hang the hats on it. I think it's a great piece, eh? I feel I want to take this. Couldn't get me more real than this. This is what I do. When I have these events and the hurricanes and things like that happen, yeah, there's a little sadness, and you say, oh my God, what a game. But then you think about, wow, I got a chance to do this again, right? Just making another expression, you know. That's what makes me roll, man. That's what inspires me.
It's a rocky road down Bankie's Dune.
We heard about the Dune Preserve. I don't really know who told us about it, but we'd been in Anguilla for a couple of days, and they said, there's a place you might want to check out for lunch. So we get in the car, and there was a tiny little sign on a piece of driftwood, and we drove down this long dirt road thinking, could there be anything down here? And we go into this empty parking lot, and a couple of dogs start barking at us, and there's nobody around. And, you know, in our mind, it's like, well, come on, it's 12:30, it's time for lunch. So we walk up, hello, nothing. It was just the dune and then miles of the most incredible beach I'd ever seen. Eventually, someone kind of came out, and we had this incredible meal, but completely on a different time than we were used to.
You come down here and hang out. It was a lazy kind of thing. You know, it really was. People hearing about this kind of reclusive, crazy guy who's got a bunch of boats turned upside down and he's serving rum punch out of coconuts or something.
I provided garbage cans, trash bags, and ice.
My first impression of Bankie was that he was a little cranky that anybody would come to his restaurant.
It didn't have electricity. It didn't have refrigeration. It didn't have, you know, a lot of the things that you need to run a bar or a restaurant. And I remember a time where we said to Bankie, man, you got to get better than this. You know, all the beers are warm and you got no ice for a drink. And Bankie said, I'm not interested in the bar. I said, Bankie, but you got a bar, you know, you can make some money. He said, Peter, I'm selling dreams.
Coore and me and the kids would always get a big kick out of seeing someone expecting lunch at the Four Seasons or something like that, and that's not the way it was gonna go.
I saw the fires of freedom in the place where I was born, on a tiny Caribbean island, like a beacon in the dawn.
When I heard Bankie play for the first time, I was like, oh, okay, well, this is a songwriter. This is a great singer and a great songwriter. He will just hold an audience in the palm of his hand, you know. I'm very admiring of that kind of skill. You know, eventually, we just kind of started to hang out. Every year, we would go to the Dune multiple times.
I played Moonsplash 98 and 99. And the headliners were the Bacon Brothers.
That's the most organized gig that we ever played there, obviously.
Moonsplash became a big festival where people come from all around the Caribbean.
Even the locals really buy into it because we've had some of the biggest names within reggae music.
He's brought people to Anguilla that would not normally would have come, but they came because Bankie invited them. It was Bankie's Moonsplash.
You know, he is a tie to that era of reggae music. And so for the reggae artists from Jamaica, the vintage acts, he's really the keeper of the flame for that part of the Caribbean.
You know, that's my fest. Choo-Choo Benz calls me Miss Moonsplash. Moonsplash has arrived, Fabi's here. I met Bankie in '99. I came on a holiday for 3 days, which turned into 3 children.
Who are we gonna call? Ghostbusters!
I always was envious of my family members who lived there just because, you know, being somebody who was raised miles away from everyone, I missed out on a lot of like the traditions that the Banks family did. And so I was very blessed in that I had the opportunity to go back so often, and Moonsplash is a representation of that for me.
All of the brothers and sisters, even though we don't live together, that love is always there. And so Moonsplash is sometimes like a family reunion.
Bankie's a lucky guy. It's a lucky guy. The mothers have been very kind.
We all get together and talk about what good taste Bankie has.
Moonsplash brings in international artists, the best you can find around the Caribbean. Jimmy Buffett came.
Back to the Moonsplash. Looking at the old stage, I went over there tonight looking at it, and I said, I like the new one. Boy, that old one brings back lots of memories.
I just wanted to thank everybody here in Anguilla. This was just a crazy idea one afternoon, and look what happened, see?
After he became famous, Jimmy wanted to organize a concert close to St. Martin because there was a lot of boat people who knew him and everything. So we suggested Bankie's place, and he went to see it with Kino.
Well, that time we had the stage outside the big boat. And he walked on the stage and he took pictures and he said, Bankie, I love to rock this boat.
I was living in St. Bart's at the time, and there's fun places, but not on the beach. And I just really thought that we needed the ambiance of this, the way he did Moonsplash. There really was no other place at the time like it. I just love the fact that you were on Anguilla, you were with Bankie in paradise, stuck in paradise.
This is my favorite Bankie Banx song we're gonna do for you right now. All right, Bankie, ready? Let's rock this boat.
Jimmy says to me, it's your venue, this is Moonsplash. We should do a song together. And we're on the way to the airport. I pick up my cell phone and I call the radio station. I got Jimmy Buffett in the car and I really need to hear Stuck in Paradise because the CD's not in the car. You think you pull that off of me? All of a sudden, Stuck in Paradise comes on. He loved the song. And that was the song he chose.
I got stuck in paradise, I'm free in my head. Changed my attitude and my head's turned red. I just met Biggie Maloney on the beach on the shore. Said to call him in New York and come knock on some doors. Thought it was kind, now in my mind, sitting here doing some quality time.
That was one of those songs that simple but right to the point, and you felt like you were there. As a songwriter, you listen to other songs that catch your attention, and you're not dissecting them, but you're just feeling them. If we've ever lived down here for a while, there's an occasion where you are stuck in paradise, whether it's at customs or whether it's at the airport or whether it's in a hurricane. You know, that's part of living in the Caribbean, you know. There's good days and there's bad days, but you get through it.
Busted in Barbados and Stuck in Paradise are part of the same story. If these things didn't happen, we would not have the Dune Preserve as we have it. We would not have the Moonsplash Music Festival as we have it. But having to be essentially stuck in paradise opened some different creative thought processes where you've got to say, okay, if I'm not going to have access to the largest market, what will I have to do? I'll have to bring the market to me.
It was no longer about Banks when you come to New York to do something. No, anybody who wants to see me, come here. I'm right here.
I got stuck in paradise, I'm free in my head. Changed my attitude and my head's turned red. I just met Biggie Maloney on the beach on the shore. Call him in New York, knocking some door. Thought it was kind, out of my mind, sitting here doing some quality time.
I can see the parrot heads coming down the Rendezvous Bay beach, and it was really amazing to see all these people from all around the world descending upon the dune in the middle of the day.
And I think that was probably the first big show they'd ever done on Anguilla. I think 5,000 people showed up or something like that.
It was a big thing. I don't know how many cameramen on the job. I was one of them. It was a big production.
There was thousands and thousands of people in the dune. Jimmy Buffett was awesome. The band was on point. I think it gave Anguilla a great lift.
Quality
There's a lot of famous people that just want a chance to experience this big treehouse on the beach. The great Dune, and to see the great man.
We've been there when Justin Bieber has popped in. We've been there when, John Mayer has popped in.
And CNN had him for the #1 bar in the Caribbean. Can you imagine?
It's a constant work in progress.
Yo, Lattice, what do you think?
And that's not something that we usually embrace that much, but it actually is what life is.
If you want to know how many different forms of Dune has been, you just got to track the number of hurricanes. So it's built right next to the water, and it's going to go when we have a hurricane. There's just no question about it.
Right before Hurricane Irma, I actually came down here. My dad and I weren't on the best terms, but I came and I was telling him, please, leave here. This is going to be a really bad storm. And he was like, don't worry, I'm going to be okay, baby. Blah, blah, blah. He's like, I'm not leaving my kingdom. I remember I took a picture of the beach and the dune because I knew from past experience this was the last time this was ever going to be like this ever again.
Irma was the scariest thing I've ever been through. Nothing I want to do again. I thought of Bankie while we were sitting here in the house because it was scary for us in this concrete house, and he was over there on Rendezvous Bay in the villa.
When I asked him about Irma, he didn't mention the dune. He didn't mention any of it. He talked about Sansara.
It was a big experience in both of our lives, yeah. Because we were in the middle of the storm. We were actually in the villa upstairs. I was looking up at the roof, and he told me, "Don't worry, Judah, this roof isn't going anywhere. This roof isn't going to go anywhere." And the minute he said that, I just heard a snap, and the whole roof just blew off. The eastern wall broke down in, and the pressure from the wind pushed the closing closet. It almost pushed the walls in together, but the door, the frame of the door kept it enough space for Sandara to be in there without her getting squished to death in between the walls. And my father took a piece of 2x4, started hammering out the wood. We ended up getting a big enough hole to get her through, and she got a bunch of scars all over her back and all over her legs, and I had to take off my shirt and wrap up Sanara's legs so she didn't bleed out and stuff. It was crazy, yeah.
And that was the first time I've seen Bankie so vulnerable. When he came here the morning after Hurricane Irma, pretty much collapsed. But after spending some time here, cooking on the outside, having wonderful times in the night, and singing and stuff, he went back to the dune to rebuild. I did not even want to go and have a look at it. I could not conceptualize how he could pull the pieces together, but he did.
Now it ain't easy, but it's all right.
Saw him a couple days after, and he was shaken up. But a couple weeks later, he came to me and says, "You got to hear this song I wrote." And I actually have the T-shirt. The "It Ain't Easy, but It's All Right." I mean, it was a great theme for all of us at that point because it wasn't easy, and it ended up being all right. We've had a string of things down here from 2008 when the world melted down financially to 2017 having a Category 8 hurricane, basically, that just destroyed the entire island, to then kind of rolling into COVID just as we were recovering. So it's been a rough few years down here. Anguillians are pretty resilient, and Bankie is certainly at the top of that list as far as what he's had to do after each storm.
The country is shut down just like in a hurricane. Hotels are closed. The government is struggling to keep infrastructure together. Unless you got a good royalty check, you can survive.
When COVID came along, I think Big Mike had shown Bankie how to do Facebook Live. And Bankie said to me, "You're obviously the one to do it." So I said, "Well, I've never shot a video in my life, Bankie, and I've certainly never used Facebook, and I certainly won't take pictures on an iPhone." And he said, "Well, you've got to do all of that. It's video on an iPhone, on Facebook." When we started off, there were a couple of hundred people tuning into the live streams, and we got it up to 4,000 or 5,000.
We tried to include every musician on the island who was out of work. By the end of COVID, we had done 321 different individual videos. We had fun. But during that period of time, it's a lot of time to go inside and to think. And what's going on in the world around us, brutality, the racism, the dismantling of democracy. And that inspired a lot of my new album.
Yeah, good.
So do me from the change to that.
All right.
Because it's totally different to what I've been doing for 20 years. That part. So, hit me on that one. Let's do it.
Whoa, whoa, Soweto. Whoa, Soweto.
Soweto, it's a song I wrote in the apartheid time in South Africa. Those sentiments come full circle right now in America with the brutality of the college.
The torch of liberty won't shine for you and me.
Yo, let's go back a bit. He called me, said he wanted to do this track. He wanted to tie everything in with what's going on today, especially in the United States of late. He said, Drac, just run with it, do your thing.
Kaepernick, our activist, should have been raised like Lazarus. Seen the death of his career, yeah, clear through our passiveness. All lives matter, but only the lives of blacks at risk. I couldn't draft this list if these hate acts were in fact a myth.
Soweto is one of my favourite Bankie songs, and actually I love the reworked version, although it's completely different.
A lot of my dad's songs actually grapple with his adversity to authority.
This is.
He can talk shit about the government on stage and get away with it.
This is who I am.
He's not afraid to say what he thinks. The freedom that he has in Anguilla is definitely something that I don't think he would have in America.
He speaks a certain truth within his music. When people come to Anguilla, they understand that truth and they see him living, as we would say in this today, his best life.
So if you see me sitting here living time with my shady friends in my sailor's mind, I kinda hate it when you scrutinize, but I'm only doing my best to be wise. If life's but time, I'm doing fine, making the best of mine.
Right now, my dad spends a lot of time with his grandkids. They love to go down for the Dune. They love to see Grandpa Bankie.
Know that he's here, he's making it count. It's so special to me. I just love to see it. I think it's great.
You know, I think about if I have a son 3 years from now, my child will definitely be black as I am. If my son comes out with the strong opinions that my father has, that same fiery personality, I want him to be able to own it. I just got the check-in for my flight tomorrow. I'm so sad. Man, I don't want to go back.
You trying to hide? You can't hide here from my girl.
Why would you want to be anywhere else? Daddy, when am I coming back home?
Tell me, baby, I'm waiting.
Okay, moon splash is when? March 18th, full moon. Hopefully the hurricane doesn't come mash up the place.
I'm really hoping that Moonsplash 2022, that we'll be able to do something bigger than normal. You know, I think it would be a fitting payoff for Bankie, for what he's experiencing this time, to just kind of see that and kind of experience that, you know?
The month of March means Moonsplash. Moonsplash is back again, and Moonsplash 32 is gonna be a spectacular weekend. On Friday, March 18th, doors open at 7:30 p.m., and performances on that night will be from Itana, Omari Banks, Mystic Vibes, and A-Math Music.
This year is gonna be the best Moonsplash. It's just the nicest lineup. And I also think it's the big comeback after having no real moon splashes for a couple of years. Still coming out of Irma. And you were actually on the beach. Every sound is going to have the waves on it.
No, this is the audience too. How many you want?
We're going to have this year Go-Go Girls and Gold Cages coming out, but don't tell anybody, please.
If the wind stays this high, that's going to be a major challenge. So I'm counting on Bullet. Bullet always cuts out anything I want cut out, frames up everything I frame up. Bullet is always there and makes it happen.
Let the wind drop, let the wind drop, buddy. We're back on the beach where we started. Let the wind drop! Jesus Christ. Hurricanes and shit moves us around. And, you know, So the Dusty Street Band is gonna be cool. We haven't performed as a band since the mid-'80s, Dusty Street Band. It's gonna be fun at Moonsplash to be together with my boys.
All right, so the legend Bankie's in the house, folks, right now, just about 10:30 in the morning. That's our time here in class, the FM 92.9. So Bankie's here, I'll go across and greet the legend and say, the legend Bankie, good morning, sir.
Oh, here is that beside you.
No, I just know, it is strange enough, though, you know, that it has been some time since you were here, right?
Yeah, it's been years.
Years.
It's been 30-something years.
30 years.
Yeah. But, you know, the years never separated our vibe, that bond we had together.
Okay.
That bond I had with Isley, with Tasha, with Bankie.
Yeah?
It just came back together like it was, you know. It was just a happy feeling.
It's only you can do that. That's the signature of that song.
We're gonna do some Dusty Street music. And I'm excited about that. We continued what we started, you know. We had ups and downs, and him, like me, we kept on doing what we're doing, so the result is the Dune. That's Down on the Corner Next Level.
He had a political, philosophical outlook that has remained consistent, that has remained authentic.
You have to go out there and create yourself into something, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. It's obvious that Bankie was able to do that and kind of remain who he was, and I love him for it.
The venues are just great now. I mean, it's better than before. The beach setting is fantastic, magical.
Bankie's venue now is just out of the top.
You love the new boat stage, right? Top right now.
To me, it's like the reopening after COVID, because this is the first major festival, not just on Anguilla, but even across the Caribbean, to actually launch post-COVID, and we feel proud to be able to pull it off.
This is Moonsplash 2022. This is the 32nd year that we have hosted Moonsplash consecutively. Through hurricanes, through pandemics, through good times, through bad times. Look, if you got your phone, I want you to do something for me right now. I want you to pull out your phone, I want you to put your light on. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, go! All right.
I never did anything good, which was really easy. We should just lay back and happen. If it's your thing, it's not gonna happen unless you make it happen. Moonsplash is one of those things. This is not gonna happen unless I give it everything I got. I give it all. I give it all I got. I try to do the best I can. After that, you know, sometimes I collapse for a few moments, but somehow I just get back up again. So that's the way it goes.
He is the king of this movement. It's his life story, it's his vibe. He spent years building this, so now the team is there, now everything is together. He can sit back and relax and watch what he created bubble on his own.
Mother, I can't wait to be on my way. Tell them folks what I've got to say. I don't give a damn who they think I am. I tried long enough. I understand.
My dad has always been a dreamer, and I think it's the most powerful thing you can be. Most people don't have the courage to say what I'm going to make of my life is not based on the hand I've been dealt, but it's based on what I want.
His whole message and his whole career is about self-determination. I like the fact that people can come to him and experience him in his element.
This is the world right here. Y'all gonna come to me.
Forget them all. I don't have to go anywhere.
And basically, that's what's happening. The world is gonna come to him.
And he is the king of the Dune. Yes, he is. Y'all wish y'all were the king of the Dune.
Right now, what he has done here, I think is one of the most
magnificent things. He has his own world. That's why he says it's a planet Dune.
He doesn't have to compromise anything. What he says, what he plays, what he does is just him.
He's always stuck to who he is as an artist.
Bankie is still Bankie.
Who he is who he is.
He is who he is.
He is who he is. Bankie Banx is Bankie Banx.
Bankie is Bankie. Bankie is Bankie. Bankie is Bankie.
Bankie is Bankie.
Bankie is Bankie.
Bankie is true to Bankie.
You're gonna love it or you're gonna hate it, but you're gonna appreciate that this person was honest and transparent in their work. And I think that's what anybody wants from an artist.
My name is Bankie Banx. My brother Omar Banks is in the building. Bankie Banx, my dad is in the building. We're gonna do something special together. This one is called Story of My Life.
Omari performs, him and his dad, and Oladi, they all connected to Bankie's life, and all of his other siblings that performs music, It's just a connection of energy. His music is who he is, and people listen.
I don't have to sit in New York or Paris or London. I sit here, and people come and see me here. I don't have to deal with all the heavy security shit and taking off my shoes every time I come to the airport. And I sit down at my place on the beach in the sun and make music and have a life.
There's a lot to this man called Bankie Banx. And the story goes on.
Me down. It makes you wonder who you are. It seems you're reaching for a star, but I fix my situation with blue flashes of the sun, and my only expectation is to be there when it's done, where I can play King's the Dune. The morning fall I survey, the wind hums a tune, the ripples dance and sway, sit in the moonlight, smell like floods at dawn, cold stars and dark nights, listen to the storm, listen to the storm.